Hello, welcome back to I Want to Teach English. I'm your host, Jose Torres, and today we're going to be talking about a very touchy subject. It's maybe venturing into shark-infested waters, but it needs to be had, I think, as ESOL teachers, ESL teachers, any teacher really, when you're dealing with administrators who are not really supportive, or maybe you feel like they're targeting you, or there's a whole plethora of things you can point to that you feel like admin team isn't really coming to your aid when it's really necessary. And so they just don't seem to get it. And we've all been there, We've been feeling overwhelmed. We could be feeling underappreciated or unsupported. Okay, so first and foremost, to understand that admin has this insensitivity issue that often stems from a number of places. It could be lack of awareness, I think, is probably the biggest. They don't really understand what teachers are going through, especially ESL teachers. They might be so focused on test scores, for example, or the budgets or paperwork, that they lose sight of the human side of things. And so one thing I've learned is to be assertive means to gain respect, essentially. I realize that some admin may take that assertiveness as abrasiveness or worse. And having conviction doesn't mean that you have to be adversarial. It's just that when you know you're right or in the right, it just simply means that you're standing your ground. So not being a pushover is essentially, certainly not crying. Please don't cry in front of them. This is the worst thing you could do. And worse even is to lash out in some kind of fit of rage. That's terrible too. You really shouldn't do that. Although I know sometimes that's our impulse, but you really got to reserve yourself, really got to keep that tone down as much as possible. Always remain calm. I know it's easier said than done. But if you're getting into an argument with admin, this is what you have to do. You can say your piece, and that's fine. I think we're professionals here. We're going to, it's not like you're dealing with an unreasonable grandmother. You just have to say your piece, and you do so with, we'll just agree to disagree. And that's really all you need to say at that point, because, agreeing to disagree just basically means that, you're standing on your side of the fence. I'm going to be on my side of the fence. We're not in the same place. And that's fine. That's at least we can begin from there. Sometimes, staying on your own side of the fence is difficult enough. So the first step in getting the support you need is to clearly communicate what that looks like. And that means being open and honest about what your struggles are, about, having some solution focus. Maybe there's a situation happening with students, and, the admin just are completely blind to what those factors are. So you just got to communicate what those factors are. Don't just dump your problems on your admin. They really don't like it when you just dump a problem on them. You come prepared with ideas. Don't just say, okay, Pedro and Steven here are fighting all the time. Deal with it. It's more like, maybe if Pedro and Steven here weren't in the same classroom the entire day, maybe we can shift them around, maybe put them here, put them there. We can alleviate some of these issues. Come with some kind of solution. It may not be the perfect solution. That's not your job always to figure it out. You have to keep that in mind. Admin gets paid to figure these things out. Now, you can come with ideas. Hopefully, they will listen to you, and hopefully they'll take your suggestions. That doesn't always happen. This might be, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be disciplinary things. It could be just like having certain resources. It could be just, professional development opportunities, or it just could be just listening to some of the concerns you have, right? It's also important to communicate these ideas that you have, communicate them through email or some other form of documentation. And the reason is being that you want to have some kind of paper or digital trail, okay? In case it is forgotten, because that happens, and then they'll later tell you, well, you never told me this, and you can point to this. Yeah, I did. Back in March, I showed you here. Here's the email. You could always go back and refer to that, so then you could put that back on, the ball's back on their court. This is one of those, CYA things. Now, your admin might not be supportive, but that doesn't mean that you're all alone. So you want to build on this network, usually with your colleagues or other teachers that do get it, that do understand your plight. Maybe they're feeling the same struggles you are. Preferably somebody with as much or more experience than you, because they'll listen to you and they'll hear you vent your concerns, and they'll, maybe offer some advice. If you ask for it, sometimes they'll go a little deeper into what that looks like when you're stuck, for example, and you don't know what to do. Sometimes they'll be more than generous with their suggestions. But I think more importantly is they'll celebrate you. If they're good enough colleagues like that, they will look at your struggles and they'll see the positives in what you're doing. They'll see all the good stuff. They're not going to nitpick all the bad things. Like, sometimes admin likes to just point out the bad stuff. They never mention all the good stuff, right? But a good colleague will do that. And they'll say, look, you're really good at this. These are great strengths. The kids really respond to you. The kids they really like you, or they think, X, Y, Z. And that's you can't underestimate that power of a good teacher friend, And research shows that a supportive colleague network is a key to teacher well-being and resilience. Now, that doesn't mean, and this is really important, it doesn't mean teaming up with that Debbie Downer, the one that's always negative, and she's just going to bring the energy in the room way down with them. You don't want to have that kind of conversation where it just steers to negativity all the time, because that doesn't help. It makes things worse. When the going gets tough, they say self-care is not an option. It's essential. Now, this means making time for things that recharge your energy and bring you joy, whatever that looks like, whatever that may be. It could be exercising. It could be hobbies. It could be enjoying that long bath with a glass of wine in your hand, whatever it is, a good book. But don't feel guilty about taking those breaks. After all, you can't get water from a stone, they say, right? As far as I'm concerned, taking a sick day to deal with mental health is as legitimate as dealing with a cold. And sometimes it's much more dire. So do what you have to do. Take some time to decompress, and do not think about work at all to recharge your batteries, and be ready for when you do get back in the classroom and seeing those admin folks walking around through the hallways. Deal with work at work, okay? Deal with work at work. But please, whatever you do, don't take that negativity from work. Don't bring it home. Finally, it's crucial to recognize when it's time to say sayonara. If your school environment is toxic and no amount of talking, no amount of communication, no amount of these one-on-one meetings that, we're here to offer you support. If none of that is working and it still feels like, hey, you guys are out to get me. None of the self-caring is recharging you enough. It's like it's a very constant thing in your life, and it's stressing you out. The situation just seems like it's hopeless. Then it may be time to explore new options. Now, that could mean, looking at a different school. That would be your first choice, I would hope, is let me see if after the end of the school year, I can transfer over to a different school, or maybe even a different district, if that's how you feel. Maybe you want to get into a new role in education. It's not unlike people to say, okay, well, this thing didn't work out. I'm gonna apply for this other position somewhere. Go for it. You got nothing to lose. Or at the very extreme, maybe think about getting out of teaching altogether. Maybe you're feeling like, what, I've been doing this and this is my third year in a row and it's not getting better. And this is my second school and it's the same situation. Maybe you should think about something else. Now, that I would never advocate for that. I'm more on the side of, listen, you got here, you're already a teacher. You're in this situation, you maybe feel a little overwhelmed. I would say even take a year off if that's necessary and come back, but don't walk away completely, because something led you to be a teacher in the first place. But let's not get around the fact that your mental health does matter. That's an important thing. You deserve a workplace that respects and supports you. That's a given. Now, that doesn't mean you sacrifice your soul. It doesn't mean you give up your entire mental health being and you become this monster just to have that job, just so that you satisfy having that body in a classroom. That's not what this is about, because there are teacher shortages, and I'm always of the mindset is, we could always rebuild, we could always reconstruct, we could always improve, and whatever those areas of improvement are in your own style of teaching or whatnot, there's a way to strategize. There's a way to make those improvements. You just got to find the right tools to help you do that. Maybe the right situation, maybe the right support system. But throwing it all away, yeah, that would be an extreme last option. So before contemplating resignation or something like that, talk to your administrator and your administration team and just be honest with them, express to them, hey, look, I'm really seriously thinking about, I'm out of here because I'm not getting the support I need. It seems like everything I do is wrong. Nothing is working and I'm not getting the support, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So you're considering this. I'm really just considering this. Just have that open conversation with them. And, if they act like they don't care, or maybe they feel like, get that feeling like, yeah, maybe they want you to leave, then that decision is easy to make at that point. So I've been doing this job for, over 23 years. And I started my career as a language arts teacher and I went into ESL. And so the years that I was in language arts, I had classes that were as big as 45 students in a small little space, and it was crammed. And there was, you had this admin team that was extremely bullish, and it's like they were intimidating. But I found there was one assistant principal among that team that was someone I could talk to, eye to eye level, and it seemed like he was very grounded, and it seemed like he was sympathetic to what was going on, the struggles that I had as a young teacher at the time. But yeah, that's what made the difference for me. Sometimes you just got to find that person. And it could be an admin. It could be somebody that's just beneath admin or de facto admin or some other mentor teacher or whatever. You just got to, different districts call them different things. But you just got to find that one or two in there, because sometimes that may be all you need is to get that one person that's close to that, they're in the orbit. And maybe when they have their own private meetings behind closed doors, maybe that person will be able to say, well, such and such, I've been talking with them. They're really starting to make improvements. Maybe you get that positive push in your direction and things will start to lighten up. I mean, in the past, I think that's worked for me. At least I think it has. I have no way of, I can't say definitively that's what happened, but it just seems like after I befriended that one person, once I started opening up to that one person, things started to loosen up. So that would be my suggestion before you think of any other. If you feel like you've exhausted every other option, try to find that one that's in their orbit to talk to, because sometimes that could make all the difference, But hopefully some of the information I shared with you is good, some for you, and some of them you may be thinking, that I'm going to give that a shot. Please share this video with people you think might be able to benefit from this. And if you like it, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please consider subscribing. This channel is starting to grow. I really want to share my thoughts and get other teachers to share theirs. If you got something that you want to add to this conversation, please drop it in the comment below. Like I said, hit that like button, subscribe, share it with everyone. And until next time, God bless.